Hi everyone, welcome to Man Manga Boy read his manga this week. This week we've got our usual 12, but we also have the ending to Prison School. Wow, what a controversial take. Weird that it was kind of a popular subject lately in manga community, but let's dive into it. So we'll start with JJK volume 17. I have been really enjoying JJK, especially since the Shibuya incident. That I think is really cool. We get a beautiful upgrade in the Zenin family here. Maki gets big time overloaded. We get a little bit of insight into Yuta, into what's going on with Yuji. So that's pretty cool. Megumi and actually Yuji are kind of absent a lot about in this volume. It's mostly about Maki and her sister and kind of how the two are twins and why the two being twins means that there'll always be one. Crazy brawl at the end. Absolutely insane. I really enjoyed it. I gotta say, I'm a little bit confused as to why they, would allow such a huge clan massacre going on. Especially when they really need sorcerers, I would think, more than anything, but very enjoyable to watch or read. You know, sometimes when you watch a huge action scene in manga, it like plays off like a movie in your head. That's kind of what happened to me. Sakamoto Days Volume 3. I gotta say, Yuto Suzuki is a G at these covers. This looks so cool. Big fan of this Volume 3 cover. I think I saw Volume 5. It looked really cool too. It had like a like a buzzsaw. It was wild looking. And Sakamoto Days introduces this man here. He's a sniper with his trusty friend Pisuke. Let's see if I can remember his name or find it real quickly. No, sorry. I only know the bird's name, Pisuke. I guess that goes to tell you how cool that is. The bird is really neat because the bird is able to find things very quickly for him, and the bird seems to have some sort of power on its own because of that. It doesn't seem like just an average bird. Also, Shin gets kidnapped, and we get to see where Shin was raised and how he got his powers. Very interesting stuff. We also get our fun little dinosaur helmets. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was really funny. But we also get the introduction to one of our main villains here, the reindeer. This dude's creepy AF. They show him without his mask on. He's got stitches all over him. They're clearly part of some sort of a bigger organization, but obviously we don't know too much about that at this time. And we see some mad scientists take over his lab and that Shin's family he loves very much in this laboratory. So they're going to try to break him out. So very enjoyable read. This has a lot more action in it than usual. I mean, yes, Sakamoto Days usually has action, but this is like the first story is a gunfight. You know, they're doing an airsoft battle that turns into a real sniper battle. And then the second half is them infiltrating a museum. There's not like any one-off side stories really in this one like there usually are. So I really did enjoy the shift into the action genre here. Man and His Cat, Volume 6. This gives us a little bit more of an insight on the, what's his name? This kid right here. Moriyama or Yoshi, depending on, if you're the brother or his friend. It also gives us a little bit of an insight on Kanade, which is pretty interesting too. A little bit each time we learn about Kanade, I feel like. But of course, our main star is front and center with his sister there. So our main character has to watch the sister. Mr. Kanda has to watch the sister. And while is away, Kanade is away. Kanda and Kanade are kind of close together. Of course, we have worry that our new cat here is going to take all of the attention away from Fukumaru. And we find that that's not really true, and that the sister just wants to hang out with her brother. Very cute, very sad. We also see how Yoshi's brother's a huge piano star and how he's kind of an antisocial guy. And he only plays the piano because his parents made him, and then he started to really like the piano, but he really likes his brother's playing, but his brother doesn't play because he's not as good as his younger brother, who was a genius at it. So yeah, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. We picked off, at the end of the rock concert, and Yoshi's whole band didn't show up, and that would be kind of crazy. Pretty shit, I'd have to say, if you were in that situation and that happened to you. Prison School Volume 14. Or 28, the last two volumes here. This was crazy. I actually like the ending. So a lot of people don't like the ending to Prison School. I'm gonna give like huge spoilers right now. So if you don't want me to spoil Prison School for you, you probably should just like hover and skip ahead by like a minute or two. But like, I really did enjoy Prison School's ending here. And did it come out of left field? Yeah. Did it make no sense? No, it made sense. People who say it make no sense, I swear, they must not have been paying attention to the whole Prison School, because it does make sense. It just is really abrupt, and we don't get any insight on what happened to the other boys. But we get insight on what happened to Chiyo, and we get insight that happened to what happened to Kiyoshi, and really, that's all that matters, in my opinion, anyways. So, Kiyoshi goes to the barbecue / Chiyo's birthday / the prison release party, and he's trying to get flowers, but he dropped his wallet in a cab, and then he's, can't get a bike or a taxi to get, to the venue, and he can't get the flowers, and the police officer thinks he's stealing his bike, and the reason why his bike is, in the middle of the street is because the VP and Kate took it. And the VP and Kate took it because the shadow principal is going off to study abroad. And the problem with that is this is her party, and she didn't tell anyone but Kate. Wow, what a jerk. How dare she? Anyways, so she's off, and Chiyo doesn't know, and the principal, or the chairman, whatever you want to call him, he is in jail. I don't really understand why he's in jail. I guess from the helicopter incident, but that was pretty funny, and he keeps talking about how he wants to go to the Brazilian beaches. But yeah, so Kiyo eventually gets all the way to Chiyo, and he is ready to confess to her, but he sees with his eyes, the two eyes on his head, he sees oh shoot, what the heck is her name now? The blonde girl, okay? He sees the blonde girl chatting it up, and he's like, listen, what are you doing here? Like, and she's like showing Chiyo her underwear. Hannah's showing Chiyo her underwear. That's what it is. And Hannah is like, do you care to explain this, essentially? And so they go over why they switched underwear. And, Kiyo's like pulling out like the lies from Hannah. And then eventually they talk about, the other incident where Kiyo peed all over her, and even they kissed. And so Chiyo's like, listen, I don't hate him because of that. It seems like he did what he had to do to help his friends and my sister and you guys too. And then Hannah's like, oh, she's such an angel. She really doesn't deserve this pervert. And kind of Kiyo's thinking that too. And eventually, like, Kiyo's like, listen, it's raining outside. We keep talking about piss. I've got to piss. Let me go piss. So they're like, okay, Kiyo, go piss. And Hannah's like, no. What underwear are you wearing? I want to prove once and for all that you're a huge pervert. And he's like, I don't see why that's relevant. I'm going to go pee. And then she's like, stop dodging the question and give me back my underwear. And so, like, she starts tackling Kiyo down a hill. Meanwhile, the boys are drifting down the river on the PBR Sama V2 with a group of girls. It's like a true love over there. They're having a paradise. Meanwhile, Andre is hitting up with Risa, and they seemingly get together after a series of apologies, and Andre's wearing the shoulder pads. So that was very interesting, too, to see that kind of happen. Back to Kiyo and Chiyo, though. They tackle him, and he pees all over, Hannah and Chiyo, of course, while he's wearing Hannah's panties, because obviously he needed his good luck underwear. But after he does that, it cuts to black, and it shows Kiyo. And Kiyo is, well, it doesn't show Kiyo. It shows Chiyo. Chiyo's the shadow president, took over her sister's role. And she says, death to men, men are all pigs and trash, blah, 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 blah. And the end, it just kind of restarts. And so that was pretty funny. And the reason why I say that I think that this is coming is because every arc has had a Hannah P fiasco, okay? And Kiyoshi can never win. Never does Kiyoshi win. So I didn't really expect Kiyoshi to win in the end here. Did I expect him to pee all over Chiyo? No. Did I expect Chio to turn evil? No. But did I really think Kyo and Chio were gonna get together? No. There was not a doubt in my mind they wouldn't. I didn't even think Gact and the Bun Girl were gonna get together, but it seems like they're on pretty friendly terms. And one of the girls gets flagged because she's streaming on the PBR Sakamoto, and as she's streaming, people are like commenting and freaking out over the fact that they can see one of the other girls' tits because she wears bras and shirts that are too big. And so like they open up with a gap and you can see the nipple like right through their shirt, and she has a higher angle on her cell phone. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, I did actually enjoy this quite a lot. I thought it was very funny. You know, the way that it went did make sense. It was super abrupt, and I would have liked to have seen what happened. How much time has even passed? Who knows? With the other boys, it does leave it so that way if it ever became popular enough, you know, they could pick it back up. But I doubt it will ever happen, at least anytime soon. So Akira Hiramoto left it kind of open-ended like that, so it's cyclical. Which is good, you know, it should be cyclical. Just like, you know, how every other manga has a goddamn ending that can open up into a sequel 30 years down the road. Why not Prison School, right? But it's just dumb fun at the end of the day. That's all Prison School was. And it was a lot of fun because it's super funny, and it's insane situations that never happened to anybody, but like, what if it did? That's kind of like the whole concept of Prison School. So yeah, I really did enjoy it. It was a very good read. I definitely recommend it. People usually say I recommend it, but that ending. But I gotta say, I recommend it and that ending, you know, the ending made sense to me. I get why it went that way. If it ended up with Chio and Kiyoshi being happy, I would say good for them. But this is what I like. This is what I would want. This makes perfect sense to me. I'm so glad it went this way. I don't know why, but I read on forums like years ago, I think it was Reddit, that like Kiyoshi, you know, he decided he became gay and he married Joe. And when I was reading the Joe Gag fanfiction part, I was like, oh no, it's setting the seeds. And then that didn't happen. I was like, oh, what? I was so glad that the ending wasn't spoiled for me. So yeah, I was gonna feel really bad for Chio if like Kyo like leaves her at the altar or something like that, because I saw the cover and it looked like she was getting married. And you know, I was like worried that that was gonna happen to her and he was gonna leave her at the altar. But no, much happier ending for Chio, I gotta say. Shadow Student Council Vice President gives her all redrop. This is literally just people told me this is a hentai. This is not a hentai. This is less nudity than Prison School. And this is pretty funny. It's just a bunch of little short stories and comedic things that happen to the vice principal. I recommend getting it if you have, you know, a lot of interest in collecting all of Prison School. I would definitely collect it. If you thought Prison School was okay and you didn't really like the vice principal and her antics, or like the boob Ruth Goldberg, or whatever they called them, then I guess I wouldn't get those. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's almost no text to it. Infinite Dendogram Volume 4. We start like a war invasion arc, and it's been pretty wild. I have definitely enjoyed this a lot. This arc kind of starts off a little slow because we're setting up how duels work and the characters in the duels. But then we find this guy invades, and his name is like Fred or Frederick, something like that. And like, he is, I guess, not very strong, but he's super smart, and he has a lot of money and all these abilities. He's a big like computer tech guy, and so he's able to infiltrate the kingdom, trap everybody in the PvP barrier, and then take off with the princess that's like an NPC. But again, our NPCs really NPCs. And eventually we find the reporter dude is like a huge power. That was kind of wild. And Figaro fights this Jianshi looking guy. He's got a pretty Chinese-esque name. I forget what it is. Oh, and the guy's not Frederick, it's Franklin, sorry. And so they have a really cool fight. The PvP barrier slows things down by like a lot. They have to slow it down so everybody can watch it. So that was really cool too, had to explain that, and to know that what we're watching isn't even like the full power of these guys. So that was really cool. But yeah, very cool to see Figaro get in a huge fight like this, because we get to kind of see what the upper levels are about. I did super enjoy this a lot. Maybe not as dark and twisted as the last volume or the last two volumes, But this one was still really good. We get some dismemberments too. I mean, the guy pulls out a lung out of Figaro. I was like, what the heck? And he's like, oh, I was aiming for your heart, but you dodged at the last second. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what? What is happening? So that was really cool. Classroom of the Elite. I thought that this was going to be like Danganronpa, but it's not. Not even a little bit. So Classroom Elite shows these kids get together. They're supposed to be in a school and they are going to graduate and become elites in society and have a successful life. But they're not just judged on the grades. They're not just chosen for the grades. They're chosen by a whole bunch of their attributes kind of averaged together. And they get a whole bunch of points and they don't have any money. And it's kind of like a gotcha game where 1 point equals $1, but it's kind of dissociating because, you know, it's not real money. So you don't realize how much you're spending sometimes. Kind of like credit. A lot like credit. Anyways, it's been pretty cool. We get like a you are gonna be under false pretenses of rape if you go against me from this girl, and that was kind of cringe, honestly. I was like, that's dumb. And they find out that the class needs to work together in order to raise up in the ranks. So they're in the lowest rank. So kind of like Assassination in the Classroom where they're in the lowest and they want to work up to the highest, but then they say, yeah, fuck that. Well, this one, I think they're not going to say that because Classroom Egg has a lot better perks, but who knows? Really, what you're in here for is the interaction with everybody. It's a pretty cool slice of life, but I definitely thought it was going to have a little bit more supernatural element to it. It doesn't really have any, which is fine, but that's just what I was kind of expecting when I went into it. I thought like this guy's going to be the best banker in the world. He's got like an insane banking mind, you know, stuff like that. But no. And yeah, so this was a good read. It's very interesting, kind of still understanding how the rules work in the school. Because like I guess you can pay teachers money for last year's tests and stuff like that, and that's like totally fine. And same thing with upper classrooms. So that's really odd to me, but pretty interesting to see, no question. And it's also cool how they have to try to get everybody in the class to do well in order to get the whole class to go up. It seems like that would be, you know, part of the teacher's job, but it seems like the teacher actually doesn't. She plays a role in doing the opposite. And they're like testing the kids and trying to screw them in order for them to try to figure out how they're going to get out of this screwing. So that's kind of a little odd to me, kind of flips teaching on its head. It seems like they're just like jerks, but whatever. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed it quite a lot. It was interesting. Pretty excited for volume 3, but definitely not my most exciting read this week. I would say it was probably my least exciting series I read this week. Haiku volume 24. I blew past 24 and 25, so we get to go into the training camps. Hinata gets picked for none, so he crashes one. He crashes the one with Suki because Suki and Yamaguchi are talking, and they're like, oh, if you crash that camp that Kageyama's at, you'll get arrested. And he's like, oh, I guess I better not crash that camp. And he crashes Suki's camp instead. And I was like, oh, okay, that's hilarious. And then Kageyama gets the idea that he's being too nice on the court and that he's losing some skill or some ability, some power from it. You know, he needs to start demanding something of his players, because if he gives them everything he wants, they'll be like spoiled brats, these little players. So he starts to, you know, stop giving to them and start putting up sick plays and expecting them to get to those sick plays instead of him getting the ball to them, which I thought was a really cool aspect. I did watch this portion in the anime, but we're getting towards the end of where the anime left off, if I remember right. And the anime didn't end, right? I didn't miss like a handful of seasons that came out of nowhere, did I? Because I feel like it's been really a long time since I last saw it. It could be that there's a bunch of OVAs that came out and I just didn't know it, but I really feel kind of confused by that. Anyways, so yeah, I really did enjoy this chapter. It's nice to see that this volume is really all about Kageyama and how Kageyama needs to be somewhat of an emperor of the court again. And that's why we see there's a spread towards the end of Kageyama getting his crown from Hinata and like a junkyard, which I thought was pretty funny because, you know, the crows are scavengers, and so that's kind of how they roll. But yeah, I did quite enjoy this chapter a lot, this volume a lot. I really liked to see Kageyama grow, and Hinata also learn to shut the fuck up, sit down, and observe the game. And once he does that, he can kind of see things that he never saw before, and so he can assess things differently. So that was also very, very interesting. Anyways, that is it. As a reminder, I read this for this week, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. This was a super great week. Again, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 volumes. Really enjoyed pretty much everything I read this week. A lot. You know, it said something when Classroom of the Elite was the weakest thing you read. Like, you know, and like, I guess it could be a kind of close between Classroom of the Elite and Man and His Cat, because Man and His Cat wasn't as fire as a Man and Cat has been, but I really am at this point attached to these characters a little bit more, so I do like Man and His Cat a little bit more for that reason at this point. But yeah, All-Star Week, Classroom of the Week was the lowest one, Classroom of the Elite, for me this week. Just insane. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this content, like, comment, and subscribe down below. Use my affiliate link for rightstuf if you want to buy any of these beautiful manga that I'm giving raving reviews for. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.